Hi, this is Alex Kontmeyer and welcome to my channel. So this is my second YouTube video and I'm really excited. Thank you for all the support for the first anxiety number 1 and anxiety number 2 videos. Today I will be giving you 5 tips on how to find your authentic self. And I just want you guys to know that I work really hard at doing these little YouTube videos. So I write everything up before I say it so I don't miss anything. So if I'm looking down for a second, it's just because I don't want to miss anything that I've written. So yeah, so today I'm going to share with you 5 ways to become your authentic self. And this is completely all based on my personal experience, right? So it's just what I think. I know that it's an important subject, and I know that a lot of people want to find out about who is their authentic self. What does it even mean? So when you're done listening to this, if you guys could write comments, that would be really, really awesome. Okay, so now I'll begin to tell you a little bit about myself and about my authentic self. But first I want to tell you that we're all taught to be ashamed of who we really are. We have toxic shame. All of us people have toxic shame. We're the only animal that actually compares each thought. Isn't that crazy? We judge what we think. So obviously we're going to judge about our authentic selves. We were taught this, and we were taught, we're not good enough. And really what we do is we put on tons of layers on top of ourselves. So when we're taught we're not good enough, what we do is we start layering on the layers. So for me, I used to layer on clothes. I wanted to wear the right clothes. I would wear clothes from Aritzia, and I would try to always look good, trying to impress my friends. Even once I bought a BMW, thinking that if I bought a BMW, I would feel better inside. Really? No. The outside stuff doesn't make you feel better inside. So we just really play roles. And I mean, playing roles isn't a bad thing. We do it all the time. I mean, we do it on Instagram all the time. We do it on YouTube all the time, right? We show the best sides of us. That's what we do. But by showing the best sides of us, we also don't show our authentic selves, who we really are. So when I was growing up, what I really wanted to do was I wanted to be popular. This was when I was super young, like 6, 7 years old. I'd watched a lot of Saved by the Bell, and I wanted to be popular, and that's what I wanted, and I wanted a lot of friends. So I started telling my friends stuff that they wanted to hear. At a young age, I already knew how to play the role of somebody I wasn't. Instead of just relaxing and being me, I was already pretending to be somebody else. I found school really, really hard. So I had dyslexia. I don't know if you guys know what dyslexia is, but my grammar and my reading, I couldn't read, I couldn't write for a very long time. And I found this really, really frustrating. I found that I couldn't fit in, that my parents would always be wondering why I wasn't good at school, that I was being compared to my sister. And so I thought that if I had more friends, then everything would be okay. Because what did it matter if I did good at school? All that mattered was that I was liked, right? From a young age, I wanted to be affirmed. I wanted to be liked. And I still carry this with me on today. So it just doesn't suddenly just go away. At work, I want to be liked. I want my boss to like me. I want my colleagues to like me. And you get to a point at work where you're not told every day that you're doing a good job, and this gives me anxiety because I like to be told that I'm doing a good job. I mean, we all want to be affirmed. We all want to be loved. So my dream as a child basically was to be pretty, be popular, and get married. Yeah, and marry rich. So yeah, probably not a very good dream. And if this had really happened, I would be extremely sad. What a wrong route. What a wrong way to think. But this is what I was taught, and this is the way that I thought it went. I didn't know any better. I was just following what other people were doing, and I just went with the flow of what I thought was best then. So what I did, instead of marrying the perfect guy with loads of money and getting tons of plastic surgery, is that I went traveling around the world. First, I went to university in Mexico for 2 years. Then, after that, I went to Europe. Then, after Europe, I decided to go to India, Nepal, Southeast Asia. And between there, back and forth, I would go to Guatemala, I would go to Mexico. I was doing a lot of things. I was selling jewelry on the side of the mat to be able to travel. I was teaching tons and tons of yoga to be able to travel. All the money that I got, I would just use it to travel. And as I was traveling, these layers of the West started coming off of me. Just whew, whew, whew. I started to see other people and other light, other cultures and other stuff. And I don't know, for some reason, being in Vancouver made me stuck. Made me stuck at playing this role of who I wasn't. And as soon as I was out of here, I could see, I could breathe, I could be who I really was. And the layers just came off of me. But I went, let me tell you, to the other extreme completely. So I became a hippie, and I wasn't wearing any shoes, and I was living out of a backpack, and I went the other way completely. And this got me in a really weird place in life, because I would come back to the West. I'd come back to Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, where I'm from. And my friends would be finishing university, they would be getting married, they'd be having kids, and I wanted this. They had the nice clothes, the nice cars, the houses, and I was like, I want this too. And my ego would start to want when I came here to Vancouver. And then I'd go back to the East, and my friends that were hippies, I'd be like, what's wrong with me? Why do I still want stuff from the West? So I was confused. I thought I was being judged in both ways. The people from the West were judging me for being a hippie and not accepting who I was. And the people from the East were judging me because I wanted some materialistic things. I just wasn't happy being me. I was happy. I was happy, I was enjoying life, but I hadn't found my authentic self, if that makes sense yet. I hadn't come to the conclusion of who I was yet. Hold on one second. So finally, this is really what happened to me, what made me find my authentic self. So it had been years of traveling, and I had ended up in Thailand, and I had dengue fever, dengue number 2. I was super, super sick and ended up in the hospital. And I was in the hospital, it was so much pain, it was like everything was broken inside of me. I was in the hospital for weeks. And I just everything died inside of me. I was sad. I couldn't believe this was happening to me. Finally, when I got out of the hospital, I'd overstayed my Thailand visa. So I had to get out of Thailand and go to Cambodia. Cambodia was okay. I had a good time in Cambodia, but I wanted to be with my friends in Thailand, and they were starting to go to Indonesia. They were going to Bali. So I kind of had to cut Cambodia short, and I didn't really find my authentic self there either. I was happy, but I wasn't on that frequency of vibrating at a different frequency yet. And then when I got to Bali, everything went completely worse. It was just awful. So I couldn't get into Bali because the guard said there wasn't enough pages in my passport. So they put me into a back room, and basically they told me they could take me to Thailand, or I could go back with the boys, or we could arrange it. And I just started bawling. I started crying so much. Finally, we went to the ATM, and I took out money twice to give to him. And my friend who was with me at the time, she could hear all of this. It was a little room that between the walls was no floor, so she could hear what was happening. The guy would say to me, if you tell your friend, I'm going to kill you. It was just an awful way to get into Bali. All of Bali, I was extremely scared. I just had that sensation that, the rock in the pit of my tummy, that something was about to happen to me. And let me tell you, it rained. All the time in Indonesia, it rained. Bali, it rained. The Gili Islands, it rained. I couldn't practice yoga. I couldn't do anything. All it did was rain. I couldn't take money out of the ATM machines in Gili Islands. They were broken. I was living out of this little room that cost $1 a night. It had mold on the floor. I was barely surviving, but I did it. It happened. And then, leaving the country, I'd booked my ticket wrong. So I didn't have a ticket out of the country. So my friend left to Nepal, and I had to go to Singapore on my own. I had to buy a brand new ticket, and then I ended up in Nepal. And Nepal was okay. I mean, we spent a couple of months in Nepal, but still, I wasn't feeling well. You know, my spirit wasn't up. I was just wondering why, what was happening to me? I mean, I was traveling, I was enjoying the world. Why couldn't I just find myself? Like, where was I? And then finally, we ended up in Rishikesh in India. And this is one of my favorite places in the world. It's a place that I adore. It's a place where I've had many teachers, and I learned lots while I'm there. And I just decided to dive into my spiritual practice. I decided to do yoga every single day, do meditation every single day, and take philosophy classes every single day. That's all I did for 2 months. And suddenly something switched inside of me. I found my inner self. I found my inner presence. I knew who I was. I was on like some sort of frequency of learning more yoga and being more spiritual and getting to know my real self. And happiness just started to happen. It went from like dark to light, super, super fast. And then suddenly I didn't care what other people thought about me. It didn't matter. It went in one ear and out the other ear, because I had found my authentic self. I was in my purpose. I was studying yoga. I was getting to know myself. I was doing something that I loved. And I was doing something I loved for me, because I needed to do this to get better. So I wasn't doing it for anybody else. You know, I think I took another teacher training there. I've like taken 10 teacher trainings in my life. I took like another teacher training. All I wanted to do was learn more, learn what was happening to me, figure out my karmas, and everything just snapped. Everything started working out well. I started to get ideas. Me and my girlfriend decided to make a jewelry line, love child. Everything just started to come up really, really well, because I'd found myself. So that's a little bit about me and how I found, you know, my authentic self. But it didn't come overnight. And it took a while. And it took a while of alone time too. I was alone quite a bit, you know, in the dark, in the shadow, trying to get to this happy place. You know, so it was a weird experience, because I was traveling and thinking that I'd be happy while I was traveling, but I wasn't, right? I was doing my dream, yet I wasn't finding my authentic self in my dream. It's a pretty weird experience to be in, right? You're seeing all these new things and experiencing all these new cultures, yet your authentic self isn't there. It just hasn't come out yet. But it does. It suddenly does, and when it does, everything changes. But you have to do it for yourself. You know, you have to dive into something that you love. So now I'm going to tell you the 5 tips that I have for finding your authentic self, okay? First one is celebrate your uniqueness, okay? That's going to sound a little weird, and what does that even mean? So I believe that the world, the universe, gives us tons of realities, and you get one of those realities. So out of the millions of realities that are out there, you get to pick one. So you should celebrate who you really are. So don't try to pretend to be anybody else. Be exactly who you are. Live that reality. It's pretty beautiful that the world gives us all these realities and you get to pick one reality of it. So why try to pretend to have somebody else's reality? But we're raised in a society, first, let me tell you, that wants us all to fit in. So sometimes it's hard to find our own reality, because we look at magazines, we look at Instagram, and we want to be like all the other people, because we are raised to fit inside the box. We are raised to go to school, we are raised to go to university, we are raised to get married, and we are raised to have kids. And that's celebrated. You're married at 27 and have kids, and you have a happy family, and you have an income, and you have a picket fence, and you have a house, and you have a dog. That's celebrated, right? No, that doesn't have to be celebrated. It can be celebrated, but it doesn't have to be your reality. Your reality can look completely different and be your uniqueness. And as long as you're happy being you, who the fuck cares what other people think of you? That's what society wants. That's what the church wants. It doesn't matter. Find who you really are. Find your uniqueness. Okay? That's number 1. Number 2 is find your purpose. Okay. Finding your purpose is probably one of those things that you hear all the time. Be in your purpose. Are you in your purpose? But what does that mean? Okay? What finding your purpose feels like to me, it feels like a pull. I'm not being pushed to do something. I'm not waking up in the morning being pushed to go to work. I'm actually excited about something. I'm being pulled into doing something. It feels like I'm going. So the first blog that I did, Hip Trip Travel, when I got back from India the first time, I was so excited. Everything was aligning and everything was going in place and nothing felt like work. Everything just felt super, super, super easy. I even in my head thought when I was coming back from India to Vancouver, the next time I go on a plane, it's going to be in first class. And it happened. Accidentally, it happened. The next time I went back to India, I flew first class. I flew first class from Vancouver to Italy, or not Vancouver to London, London to Italy, and then Italy to Turkey, Turkey to Denmark, and Denmark to India, all first class. Had something to do with the points that I had on my card, and somehow I managed to get all my tickets first class. It just aligned. Super, super easy. It just happened because I was in my purpose and I was vibrating at that high frequency. My second purpose was writing my book, Memoirs of a Junkie Yogini. I would get up every single morning and just write. I was pulled to write. I have dyslexia. I'm a person who writing shouldn't come easily for me, but it did because I needed to tell my story. I needed to write all of this out so I could have something inside of me stir. It was like self-therapy writing it, So I was in my purpose. And I don't want you guys to feel that you have to have one purpose, right? When I rode motorcycles through India, we made a documentary, Wandering Yoginis. That whole time I was trying to find my purpose. And I was in my purpose, trying to find my purpose. But the thing is with purposes is that we can have many purposes. So sometimes your purpose is having kids, and that's your purpose for that while. But maybe your purpose before that was just falling in love. And maybe the purpose before that was making your own business, right? Our purposes can change. As we evolve, our purposes change. So it's just not one purpose, right? It's many purposes in life, but when you feel that you're in that purpose, it's a pull. It pulls you. You pull. You're just in it. You feel it. You know it. You know it when you're in the purpose. Okay, so number 3 is choose the right tribe to hang out with. I cannot say this enough. If you're hanging around the wrong people, you're not going to find your authentic self. You're going to be playing a role. You're going to be playing a role for them to like you. You have to hang out with people that inspire you. The people that are with you, they want you to be the best version of yourself, right? You don't have to play small in this universe. The universe doesn't want you to play small. It wants you to play big. It wants you to be the best version of who you really are. So your tribe has to help you, right? When you start to find the right tribe and you start to find the right people, your family and everything just comes and supports you, you start to become more of your authentic self. You become comfortable enough to be able to be your authentic self. Now, I'm not saying that you can just I am saying to cut some people out of your life. Cut the people that aren't treating you properly. If the people give you anxiety, cut them out. You don't need them. Same with work environments. You don't need them. But every once in a while, we find ourselves in a place where you can't get rid of the people. You're at work, right? And your colleague is being a complete bitch and she's belittling you and you feel it and you're starting to feel low. Right away, boundary, energetic boundary, right? Have to put it right up. And you have to realize this, that person that you're dealing with isn't at the conscious level that you're at. You can't make them more evolved. They're on their own journey and they are where they are. And that is their shit. They can't make you feel bad. Don't take on their energy. Let it in one ear, out the other ear. it doesn't matter. You are worth more, right? So, but it is okay to change tribes. It is okay to change workplaces. It's okay to cut people out of your life. You don't need to surround yourself with people that put you down. You want to surround yourself with people that make you feel good about yourselves. You know, you want to be able to call them and have a great conversation. Your tribes help you be you. They help you find your authentic self. Number 4 is recognize when you're not being authentic. Okay? And this one's a hard one because you got to do these self-check-ins and see if you're being authentic right now. So for instance, last year at work, I was on a TV show and it was a terrible work environment. It was toxic. They were belittling me. It was almost like they were bullying me. Nothing that I could do could make them happy. And I started to get a lot of anxiety. And so I started to trying, even though my work was doing really well, it was like my personality was suffering. So I was trying to impress them. And suddenly I took a step back. Whoa, what am I doing here? I'm not being my authentic self. I don't need to be here. And I quit. I changed jobs. And I remember after I quit, a couple of days afterwards, walking around and I could breathe. And I hadn't breathed in such a long time, all the way deep breaths. I'd been chest breathing, you know, because I wasn't being my authentic self. So when I started to be able to breathe, and then a couple of weeks later, my authentic self came back. I started to get into the groove of what I love, and everything started to just align itself. But for a while, I started to go crazy. You know, I had the anxiety thoughts, the crazy thoughts, the paranoid. I wanted to be liked, and it was my ego. It was all ego. And I check in, Alex, check in. Where's my authentic self? Where is it? I wasn't being authentic. So it's okay to do check-ins. It's okay to figure out why you're not being your authentic self. Figure out what's happening around you when you're not your authentic self. That's usually going to tell you why you're not being your authentic self. Right? The environment tells you what's going on inside. The environment is a reflection of who you are. Number 5, embrace your shadow side. Okay? Embrace your past. We all have stuff that's happened to us in the past that is pretty traumatic, that is pretty ugly, and that we're not proud of, right? But we have to embrace it. We have to be good with all the sides of us. So when I was 22 years old, I got beat up by an ex-boyfriend. And I was so scared and I had so much fear. I hid in my parents' room for weeks. He cut off all my hair. It was awful. The police got involved. But I didn't want anybody to know. I somehow thought that I deserved it. Really? Like, I don't know what I was thinking, but I was so scared. My mom finally had to send me to Guatemala to be with relatives to try to calm me down. And this is when I think my nerves just got so high, my anxiety got so high because I was so scared. But, you know, I thought that maybe if nobody knew that this happened to me, that I wouldn't be judged. But clearly everybody knew and nobody was judging me. It was just me not embracing my past. You know, you have to embrace your shadow side. You have to embrace what happened to you in the past. And that, you know, everything happens for a reason. It's totally okay what happened to you. You know, there was a purpose there. There was a lesson there to be learned. And you have to just be able to talk about it and be okay with it. You don't have to be proud of it. I mean, I'm not proud of being beat up, but I'm okay that it happened. And now I feel better talking about it and sharing with it. So to wrap this all up, really, what you have to do is that you have to really find who you really are, right? Celebrate your uniqueness. You know, many realities out there, you're number 1, celebrate it. 2, find your purpose. Feel the pull. When you find it, you're in it. You're going to love it. You're going to be at a different frequency. Life is going to be good. 3, figure out when you're not being your authentic self. Figure it out. Figure out what's happening around you, what's making you not be your authentic self. Right? Your tribe. I can't say enough about your tribe, right? Have the right friends. And you know what? If you can't find the right friends right now, it's okay. Be alone. It is way better to be alone. It is liberating to be alone and to be free than to have to pretend to be somebody you're really not. I promise you that. It may take time, but it's worth it. It's worth it. Be yourself. Last, embrace your shadow side. Embrace your dirty little past. You know, you don't have to be proud of it, but you can embrace it, you know. I hope by me sharing my dirty past will help you guys to be able to embrace your guys's. So that is my tips on finding your authentic self. It's kind of been a long one. I'm already at 26 minutes. So I would just like to say thank you for listening. Sat Nam, have a great day, and leave comments underneath, okay? Thank you. Bye.